come out chased by hounds. Round and round we go, wearing a pinche rabbit's foot for luck, just ahead of the fucking hounds. ¿Qué hubo? ¡Ah! ¡Qué vida es! ¡Qué loca vida, home!
Como decimos en México, hay que dejarnos de mamadas. No hay que... Los cinturones aquí se hacen a un lado. Hay que pelear por honor y por gloria nada más.
I invite him into the ring, and like we say in Mexico, we don't fuck around. We don't fight for rings and stuff like that. I don't fear anyone.
En este deporte no se viene a jugar y no le tengo miedo a nadie.
We don't come to play in this sport. I fear no one in this sport.
What's your prediction for the fight then?
Prediction?
Yes, prediction.
Pain.
Como decimos en México, hay que dejarnos de mamadas.
We come out chased by hounds.
Hispanics Causin Panic, Rosado.
What's going on, guys? Thanks to those joining me live. To those that'll be joining us here on Archive, I'm being joined by GFunky and Amilcar. If you're listening live right now, hit that like button. If you're listening on Archive, hit the like button as well. Shout out to everyone listening to us on Pandora, iHeart, Apple, podcasts, and the whole nine from Block Talk and all that. Thank you guys for joining me. How are you doing, GFunky?
Doing well, man. Just want to say what's up to the raza out there that's already waiting on us, man. And I'm ready to talk this boxing, man. We got a nice show lined up for you guys.
Absolutely. How are you doing, Amilcar?
Todo bien, aquí con los Hispanos Causando Pánico. Happy to be here.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. You guys can catch Amilcar on the Leave It in the Ring network. So shout out to that. And we have a special guest here today, SusieQ Ramadan. And here she is. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing very, very good. Thank you for joining us. 28-3 out of Australia. I have a couple of questions for you. I mean, you're in a division right now really dominated by Mexican fighters. I mean, the top 7, according to BoxRec, are Mexican fighters. You had a loss to Barbie Juarez about 2 years ago. Talk to us. What do you think went wrong in that fight, and do you think it would go differently a second time?
I definitely think it would go different if we fought again. Look, I'm not the type of person who makes excuses, but I did not prepare well enough for that fight. I didn't come in 100%. So, and I know that I could do a lot better than what I did on that fight. And, if I had a little bit more time for preparation as well, it would have been good. And, a little bit more time to spend in Mexico over there before the fight, that would help as well. But, especially after, she's just come from a loss, and, it'll be great to get a rematch again.
Did you see the post-fight after her loss? She accused her opponent of having something in the gloves or the wraps. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I did see that. I mean, look, I don't know exactly what happened there, but, look, it's very hard for a fighter, especially like Mariana Jerez, who's been, very well looked after and, always getting the wins, and then, she gets a loss, and I don't think she handled it too well, unfortunately.
Right now, you had like about a 2-year layoff. You came back. How did you feel in your last fight?
Well, my last fight was February this year, early this year. So, well, initially before I fought Mariana Jerez, I was actually number 1 in the mandatory, the IBF in super flyweight division. And, you know, and then obviously Mariana Jerez's team contacted me to fight her for the WBC bantamweight. And so I wasn't aware of, you know, taking that fight that would jeopardise me, you know, getting out of the super flyweight ratings. So anyway, it was a good experience. I had the fight, came back and went back into super flyweight to get myself back into that position again. And yeah, it was good to get a win under my belt. And especially before all the pandemic stuff happened. So it was good to get one in before then.
Well, let me ask you about as far as the weight. I mean, you are at 41 years old. You know, how do you feel at the weight? Can you still make the weight comfortably? Are you still going to campaign at this weight?
Oh, look, I can make the weight easily because I walk around at bantamweight. So, yeah, it's only like, you know, a couple of kilos difference. And it's pretty much just, you know, real strict diet. And, yeah, I make super flyweight pretty easy. I don't walk heavy, so I'm always the same. I mean, you see me now, I'm still fit. And I don't have much weight on me now. And, you know, if I get a super flyweight fight in a week's time, 2 weeks' time, I'd make it easy, yeah.
Absolutely. And again, guys, she's over there in Australia. She's in the future. It's Wednesday over there, Tuesday over here. So 2 o'clock over there. It's 8 p.m. where I'm at Tuesday. So I'm still behind in the time. Shout out to the Women's Boxing Channel. They wanted me to ask you this question. Can you ask Suzie if she will be part of the impending Women's Series being launched in Australia?
Actually, I wasn't aware of it, but I'm not sure if she's talking about the cricket. So, yeah, no. No, if it's about the cricket, no.
Well, there you go. Is there any of the top fighters right now, whether it's Jessica Chavez, Guadalupe Martinez, Diana Lara Fernandez, anyone up in that, you know, in that class right now that you would like to get in the ring with?
I'd love to fight any of those girls, actually. You know, it's I'm not sure if Guani has still got the IBF super flyweight title, but look, you know, those girls obviously have the WBC Mexican, so you know, they're a great challenge. I'm happy to take any fight if you know, if they call me out and if the offer is good, it'd be great.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, GFunky.
Hey, Susie, how you doing? I'm GFunky. Thanks for coming on. And as DStyle said, it's much earlier where I'm at. I'm on the West Coast here, so it's only 7 here. So, but I want to ask you something about, and I asked this to a few other female fighters that we had on our show about the 2-minute rounds. How do you feel? Do you feel like it should be 3 minutes, or are you okay with the 2-minute rounds?
To be honest with you, I mean, obviously they've done the 2-minute rounds for a reason. It's almost like the same thing that they've changed the men at 15 to 12. So obviously there's a reason for that. And I think it's to protect, you know, the female fighters. I think when you haven't, I'm not sure if these girls have been around long enough, but when you're getting really hard fights, you know, 2-minute rounds of non-stop, I think that's, you know, it's a lot. It's a lot for a female. I'm happy with 2-minute rounds. I said, like, at the end of the day, yeah, with 3-minute rounds, you've got more time to catch up with that. But you know what? You got to prepare with whatever it is. You got to be able to adapt to anything. You know, we can adapt to 3-minute rounds, but is it necessary? I mean, we're not getting paid enough as it is. So why would we want to risk our, you know, well-being for 3-minute rounds when, you know, we're still not getting paid as much as what we should. So, you know, a high rate fight at 2-minute rounds, especially in my divisions, it's very fast paced, a lot of work rate. You know, I think it's plenty. Just my opinion.
Yeah, that's definitely a different opinion from what I've heard from from you know, a female fighter's perspective. But you did speak about. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We've got to be honest here. I mean, it's a dangerous sport. So, you know, it's just it's dangerous. So why should we move on to 3 rounds? Women's boxing is only just building up. Let it build up. Let it get better. Let the you know, the female boxers get better technically and all that sort of stuff before we can start talking about 3-minute rounds and moving it up in those terms. Just, yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, I'm one of those boxing fans. I've been watching boxing a long time, pretty much the whole life, and it took me a long time to get used to seeing the women fighting because I was raised to protect the women. I only have an older sister, and even though she was older than me, my parents always told me, "You protect her." Like if we're going walking to school, walking home from school, whatever it was like you. It wasn't her, it was me. You. So I'm always like, it just used to rub me the wrong way. But I've come around, and I appreciate that. You women are very skilled, and you take this thing very seriously. But you also brought up pay. Now that's another question I wanted to ask. There's been a lot of talk about that, and I want to ask you, how do you think women could get themselves more money in the sport? Like your opinion on that? How would they market themselves better and things like that?
I mean, there's no wrong or right here in terms of marketing yourself. I mean, there's so much you can do at the end of the day. I mean, it's an individual sport, but it also helps with the team, stuff like that. In order to be able to establish better, money for women. I think, we try as much as we can, but we've also got all the work to do in terms of, crafting the boxing skills and all the rest of it. There has been a lot of talk about women's boxing, and I do understand that, women can get frustrated and stuff like that. And, I mean, some of the pro females have been on the scene for like 10 minutes, and they're sitting there saying we should have 3-minute rounds and we should get more money and what have you. But yet their skills are just not at that standards yet. I think, when you see fighters like Katie Taylor who are going out there showing their skills, is only what's going to improve female boxing and showing that, females can fight. Do we deserve more money? Of course we do. Do we deserve more exposure? But how can we do that if the promoters are not giving us that opportunity? So, they've just got to get us out there more and promote us more. And, the better fights, I think the better quality fights and, having that quality technical background helps. I mean, especially fighters like myself who have been around a long time. And, when we started off, it was all about, learning everything about boxing or the basics and just everything. You'd sit on a bag for 2 months just throwing the jab till you get that, 100%. And you didn't think about the money and all that sort of stuff. You wanted to get that boxing, the skills 100%. So we've done all that. And we're at the point where, we've got the craft now, some of us fighters. So I think they're the ones who are more, probably shouldn't say it, but I don't want to offend anyone, but I believe some fighters do deserve more money than others. And that goes at the same as men. Some men get more than other men. And I think it's got to be fair for everyone. And I think that the only way to go about improving it is the more we get out there showing them that we're very skillful and we're here to fight, we're not going anywhere. And hopefully it just keeps improving from there, and promoters will obviously do more work.
Right. Did you want me to read that question, DStyle, or you got it?
Go ahead.
Okay, so we have a question from the chat from Raw Boxing TV. He says, ask if she thinks by mixing females in the undercard of big name male cards would help with the money.
I'm not sure how it works exactly overseas. Like I know here in Australia, if there's a main event, majority of the undercards are, they're not paid too well. So, most of the money goes on the main event fighter. It is great exposure. So I think they, substitute it with the, you're getting the exposure. So, they'll say, well, look, we'll pay you this much. It's probably less than what you'd get, but getting all this exposure, which, I mean, is it a win-win? I'm not sure. It just also depends on the fight, what sort of fight it is. But if it's like if you're fighting for a title and it's a 10-round fight, you think you deserve more money. It depends on the opponent, stuff like that. It also depends on the fights. And regardless, I think we should be getting paid well for each fight, especially on the main events where you've got, that sort of exposure as well. It only just benefit the females, so.
Yeah, hopefully the exposure I think is really what you guys need more of, and I'm praying for you guys to get out there and get some things going, So Amilcar, you go ahead, bro.
Yeah. Hey, happy to be here with you, and thank you for joining us. Listening to you, it's like listening to Rake. I don't know if you're familiar with that show, but the Australian show. Quick question about the scene out there in Australia. We're familiar to some extent with obviously the legends like Fennec and Zoo, and more recently the Maloney brothers. But what's it like out there for the female fighters in Australia? What kind of support do you guys get?
Well, when I started, female boxing was absolutely dead. It was very hard to get, fights against another female in Australia. So I think I had only fought one Australian female, and then I just fought all international fighters. So there was a lot of critics, obviously, until it was very hard to even get on a promotion. We had to push them and say, well, because they had that view of, oh, women can't fight, they're scrappy, they don't have any skills, and so, we basically had to push them to go, well, wait and see, Suzie Q, and she will display that, she can fight, and they do have skills. And I think once I got on there and I would obviously get some entertainment in with my walk-ins just to get that attention, because usually when they hear a female's fighting, they'll get up and, let's go for a drink or whatever. It's just a female fight. So I would get their attention that way, and then they would see me obviously fight, and that's when I sort of got people turn, their views about it and change their minds. I thought, well, women can fight, and we, at one stage, it was banned in some states like Sydney. We obviously amateur, I couldn't even fight. I only had a few amateur fights because at the time there was no Olympics as well, so that's why I turned pro. And it was pretty dead, but it's starting to build up now, and they're putting more females on promotions, which is good, but very far from what it's like overseas. We're very behind. I mean, we're behind on the males, and let alone for us females. So, I mean, I am blessed that I got 30 fights in Australia, and 3 in Mexico. I'm really blessed for that. But yeah, it definitely needs more building.
And can you talk a little bit about your experience going to Mexico to fight as kind of a road warrior overseas?
Well, I fought Yasmin Rivers and Barbie. So obviously Yasmin Rivers twice, but all three times with different places. Very different. Very different. A lot of obviously they've got their different ways of doing things in Mexico. But the crowd are just amazing. Like, they love boxing, and I was they respected me really well when I went there. I mean, even arriving at the airport, and everyone was there, and even after not getting the decisions or not winning the fight, I mean, the crowd still showed the respect. And it's very tough in Mexico. It's very tough. I mean, we all know that you're pretty much halfway before you even get there. So trying to win in Mexico is difficult, but you learn a lot. It's great. Like, they love their boxing over there, and it's really helped me. It's been an eye opener and great experiences.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
I want to ask you about that really quick. Do you think, because I'm just looking at the rankings here, it's one of the few divisions in the women's that has over 100 fighters, right? Compared to other divisions, only have like 20 the higher up you go, right? But do you think the Mexican fighters over there have a big advantage, like as far as finding sparring, training? Do you have a difficult time finding sparring partners over there in Australia?
Definitely, yeah. That's probably my hardest. I mean, look, it's hard to fight, and sparring is just very difficult. I mean, like I said, when I started, there was no girls around, so I was always sparring the males, and I actually, I mean, it was good for me. It helped me a lot. Sparring the guys, I think I learn a lot. And it is, I mean, you still want to get the girls and fight the spar the girls, and it's very hard to get that sort of sparring here, and especially in my weight division as well. So yeah, they do have that advantage because there's more variety over there. That's for sure.
Well, I have one more question for you. So recently, news came out that Clarissa Shields signed to an MMA promotion, right? But she's young right now, and has still a long career ahead of her. If MMA was, women's MMA specifically, was as big as it is now, back in 2007, for example, would you have considered going to MMA, especially if it, guaranteed more money?
That's a good question, actually. Look, I did get asked, many years ago if I would do it. I just have too much passion for boxing. Look, I did a little bit of kickboxing training years ago, and I just love boxing so much. I love the skill and the mindset, and I don't think I would have. I mean, for me, it's okay, we got to get paid and stuff like that, but it's not just about the money. You've got to love what you do as well. So I love my boxing, and yeah, probably not. But maybe if I get an offer for an MMA fight now, and I might have a go. But but I'm glad I stuck with boxing. I did really well. Yeah.
Most definitely. I want to thank you for coming on. Do you have any fights coming up? Anything? I know COVID's going on, so it's kind of difficult right now. But anything in the near future? Any fight coming?
Well, yeah, that's been unfortunately the COVID. But look, we've got to look into the early next year. So we're trying to chase the IBF world title, but we just got to wait and see what happens. We're waiting to hear back from the IBF, or we'll just see what offers we get. It's my team and management. I manage by Split T and Empire Boxing, so the guys are obviously going to do the work and see what we can get early next year. I'm looking forward to it.
Most definitely.
Might be different overseas as well. I mean, now for Melbourne, it's been really bad, but we're back to normal, basically almost normal now. So hopefully it's okay for you guys over there. I'm not sure. I think it's pretty bad over there, but
it's terrible here.
Yeah. So hopefully by then, things will be a bit different. And yeah, it's just that whole quarantine stuff is a bit of a headache.
It is pretty bad here. They're already talking about having Teofimo Lopez going to Australia, fighting Cambozes over there. And plus the Casasu's son, Tim Tszyu, had a fight over there with a crowd already months ago. So
I was jealous.
Who knows? There may be a lot of fights going on in Australia if things don't improve here anyway.
If that fight happens here in Australia, I mean, I probably could get a chance on getting on the card, which would be great. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, give HCP a shout out if you do.
Well, we want to thank you for coming on here on HCP. Any final words? Anything you want to say to your fans out there?
Nice one. So I want to thank you guys. It's been a pleasure to be on here. I want to say a shout out to all my fans out there who have supported me from day one and continue to support me, and all the new fans who jump on. I want to thank my major sponsors, DNA, Recruitment Solutions, and Sting Sports. And thank you, guys.
Most definitely. Thank you for coming on.
Thank
Suzie.
you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you guys. Cheers.
Peace. Well, there you go, guys. All right. Suzie Q, check her out. I mean, hopefully she gets a fight early next year and all that stuff. A lot of unknowns with this pandemic going on, that's for sure. All right, you guys are tuning in to the December 1st edition of Hispanics Causin Panic. That's HCP 38. We're being joined by Amilcar from the Leaving in the Ring Network. And, of course, we got GFunky in the spirit of Batman Month. Look at that T-shirt. Right? He's doing his thing. You know what I mean? But check it out, man. Let's get right to it. Weekend aftermath. Amilcar, I want to start with you, man. This is definitely a fight of the year candidate. Jacobs versus Rosado. Were you excited?
I was wondering where the hell you were going with that, because I didn't see any fight of the year candidates this weekend.
No.
Yeah, I was
performance stuff.
No. The funny thing is despite all the talk before the fight between the two guys, I honestly wasn't really expecting that much. You know, Rosado's best days were at 154. Jacobs' obviously best days are at 160. And, you know, I said this when I was on the air with David Duenas. Jacobs always kind of does just enough to, at the end of the fight, make a claim that he won the fight when the majority of people actually think that he lost. And, you know, in this case, it was kind of the same thing with Rosado doing that. And they just didn't really engage with each other. I mean, we've all been around gyms. It was essentially a sparring session, you know, televised on DAZN. Super underwhelming performance. And, you know, you don't need to take my word for it. Eddie Hearn has been thrashing the fight since it took place.
Yeah. Hey, look. I need to give Jacobs credit. He guaranteed a knockout, bro. He knocked me out by like the 7th round. I was out. Okay, he smoothed out too. Like I woke up, it was like the 11th round. I'm like, what the fuck? They're still fighting, you know? Like
Nate Robinson out.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, definitely. I think I was kind of laying like that too. Yeah. I was watching on my phone. I was just like, you know, fuck you, to sleep. GFunky, what you think of this amazing fight, bro? I mean, it was amazing, wasn't it?
Dude, I just can't even put into words how great this fight was. You know, like it's up there, man, with the classics. You know, Hagler Hearns, Gotti Ward, Castillo, Corrales. Like, this fight was terrible, man. This was a terrible fight. It looked like both guys were fighting in mud. Both guys were stuck in first gear, couldn't get out of first gear, and it was just a boring fight. I just really don't know what else to say. I mean, Rosado's a guy, 12 losses. He's a big underdog. Jacobs should have put this guy away. There's no way this fight should have went the distance. To me, Jacobs is he's just not the same fighter that he was a few years ago, man. He's one of those guys that would, you know, he was known for being tough. You know, you hit me, I'm going to hit you back type of dude. You know, we've seen that in the Triple G fight. We've even seen that in the Canelo fight, where, you know, there's times where Canelo would land some shots on him, and then, you know, he comes back, and, you know, we did not see that same type of energy Saturday night from him. We didn't see that same type of energy with Chavez. You know, now I know he won that fight, and Chavez quit, but that's just what Chavez does. You know, if you could go 4 or 5 rounds with this guy, he's just going to say, you know, I'm done. I don't want to fight no more. So I was not impressed with him in that fight. I was not impressed with him in this fight. And I'm going to say this, man, he is food for all those top guys at 168.
Oh, yeah.
I think all those dudes beat him. This is a bad pattern that I'm seeing from Daniel Jacobs. And, you know, if I'm guys like Andrade or Charlo, like, I'm licking my chops right now at a chance to get a name like Daniel Jacobs on that resume that they got, you know? So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about that, man.
Look, I don't know what's up with Danny Jacobs, man. He didn't look good in the Chavez Jr. fight. I thought, like, man, Chavez is getting to him, and then Chavez just quit out of nowhere. So that kind of threw a monkey wrench into everything. Here, I mean, I don't think any of them look good. Like, I thought the fight was horrible. I think the fight could have gone either way, to be honest with you. I don't have a problem with Jacobs winning. Yeah. A lot of people are saying Rosado should have won, and I feel you, but there's something about Rosado, man. He always leaves so many rounds, like, on the table.
Yeah.
He never does that little extra to just make sure, like, where they can't deny him the round. You know, like, he never wins a round 100%, in other words. You know?
You could say the same thing about Jacobs in his top fights. You know, with Triple G and Canelo, it's like you want to say that you won, but you're screaming robbery, and I'm just not there with you, bro. It's like you left too many close rounds on the table. And there were many opportunities where Rosado could have put on the gas if he, like, you know, stepped on the gas if he had made the effort to do it. I don't walk away from that fight wanting to see either guy again. Personally.
Same for me.
Real quick, shout out to Nopal Boxianos out there, Taco out there. How's it going, bro? Jay Lee. Raw Boxing TV says he'll check out the rest on archive. Shout out to you, man. 92 AKU, Bruce Goes. We got Chicano Prophet on here. Leave It in the Ring was on here as well. Shout out to everybody. I'm sorry if I missed you. Sonteo's on here. Shout out to you as well. Hey, man. Look. So we need a petition out there. You know what I mean? Like, we need to do a petition and have everybody sign it to make sure that Amilcar never calls a fight 100% ever again. You know what I mean? Like he's like the Madden curse, but like with 100%. You know what I mean?
You know what I gotta stop. You know what I gotta start doing? I gotta start saying how I think the fight may go, and then making a statement on how I'd like it to go. I just like
police
Dubois.
are coming after him already. Look at this.
And
the guy for calling that 100%.
Yeah, he disappointed. I think mostly himself. And honestly, I feel that was a fight that was a winnable fight. I just think that the tactics were all wrong. The preparation was all wrong. The way he came out the first round and the way he came out the second just shows you they didn't really have much of a plan. And you look at his opponents in the past, there were always guys that were like his height or shorter. And for whatever reason, they did not prepare for a jab from a bigger, taller opponent. And that just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. How did you see it, GFunky? I mean, this fight.
Which fight are we talking about again?
Dubois, Joyce.
I'm thinking about Jacobs again, and I'm just like,
Joyce and Dubois.
I thought it was a good fight, man. I do. Now, obviously, I got my pick wrong. I picked Dubois to win by knockout. But the Juggernaut lived up to his name, I think. He was big. He was able to take a lot of good flush shots from Dubois that I didn't think he was going to be able to handle. He got physical with him, started in the mid rounds. And I think that's really a big factor also in the fight. But that jab, man, Dubois just could not get out of the way of that jab. I mean, he could have told Dubois, look, I'm throwing the jab right now, and threw it, boom, he would have hit him anyway with it. Like, I don't think he missed the jab that whole fight. And that sledgehammer jab busted his nose early. Come to find out, he had a broken orbital bone, and
apparently some nerve damage too.
Yeah. So I mean, he decided to take a knee. He couldn't. This is one of those fights. I mean, and this is what I like when guys step up to the plate. We find out what they're really made of in these kind of fights, man. And that's why I like when guys step up to the plate. This is what happens. We find out who's who. I think we're going to end up talking about that right there, what we got on the screen. But I thought it was a good fight, though, man. Dubois was getting off early, but, the Juggernaut was able to take his punches and come on late and get the win, man. So that was a good fight.
He also lived up to his theme song, not just his nickname. You guys heard that, right?
No, I did not
hear the theme song. What did it come out to?
He has his own custom rap song called The Juggernaut. And it's all about how you can't mess with the Juggernaut. It was pretty dope, actually.
I mean, I don't know if he lived up to the when I think the Juggernaut, I'm thinking of a dude that comes straight at you. You know what I mean? Like bulldozes motherfuckers and has them bouncing all over the place. But I will say this though, I was actually criticizing the jab at first when I was watching the fight, and I said, why isn't he turning the jab? He was kind of just doing this. All right. Now it wasn't forward like that. I mean, what he's doing is kind of hammer fisting him, right? But then I noticed he's hitting him in the same spot over and over again, and that's what caused the I don't know whether it was by design or not. I don't know, but it was genius, and he kept hitting Dubois in the same spot. And I got to tell you, I mean, there was a point in the fight, like a round before that, Dubois hit him with a 4-punch combination of nothing but big power shots, and Joyce kept coming. Okay, he would hit him with a big right hand. Joyce ate it, and he kept coming. Like Michael Myers, he just kept coming. Like no wincing. Like I didn't see him wince. I didn't see him anticipate the shot. I didn't see him kind of shake his head. I didn't see him take a step back and bounce and come back. He literally just kept coming at Dubois, and I think that contributed to Dubois saying, Not only is this fucking hammer fist in my eye hurting like a motherfucker, okay? I think I probably have a broken orbital bone. I'm hitting this guy with everything and he's going nowhere. Like I literally hit him with my best shot, and Michael Myers keeps coming. I mean, he was like Juggernaut with the armor, right? Like he was doing nothing to him. And then Dubois, unexpectedly, I got to tell you, I didn't expect it. He takes a knee, tries to stand up, but he obviously wanted a way out of that fight. And which brings me to this, man. Look, we're going to have the conversation of whether it's good or bad, but first, did he quit? Yes, he quit. Okay? I know we're in this politically correct culture now that's starting to seep into boxing, okay, where we can't call shit for what it is, right? You can word it differently if you want, okay? You know, I get it. Like, oh, wall sounds bad. Call it a barrier. Well, it's the same shit, okay? Quit sounds bad. Say he couldn't continue. You're like, I quit. But I want you guys' thoughts on this. Amilcar, did he quit?
Yeah, he did quit. And well, one last thing I wanted to say about Dubois is like there were plenty of opportunities for him to like counterpunch Joyce too. He was like missing hooks wildly, Joyce was, and right hands. But for whatever reason, he wasn't clicking. And like you said, the relentless pressure of Joyce and that hammer fist jab caused him to take a knee. I'm sure he was in a lot of pain. You know, I was talking on the other show about how, you know, I had a lot of back pain last week, and it was like a shooting pain down my back. And I can imagine if you get that in the eye and it, you know, you're getting it repeatedly and then you can't see and you've never been really in a tough fight before and you're 23 years old. Yeah, you take a knee and you kind of succumb to the pressure. He definitely quit. You know, I mean, it's a debate about whether it was a smart move or not, but you know, you can't deny the fact that he took a knee, the count happened, and the fight was over.
Absolutely. GFunky, how do you feel about it?
The question is, did he quit? Yes, he did quit. You know, he got hit. I didn't see him rocked or anything like that. It's just his eye was swollen, pretty damaged, and he decided to take a knee and not stand up, you know, before the referee counted to 10. So, yeah, he quit, man. You know, obviously, you know, I know people like the questionnaire is anti-quitting culture good or bad for boxing. I think it's bad when we're just not honest with people about things, you know?
Right.
Did he quit? Yes, but you know, he can quickly turn that reputation around in no time, you know? If he gets back in the gym, you know, earns his way back to another big shot, and he's in a fight where, you know, it's a tough fight, he's getting busted up, you know, and he hangs in there and gets the win or something, you know, like then this he quit or he's a quitter label will go away. I mean, look, a lot of people called Duran a quitter after he decided not to.
Never went away. No, yeah. Never went away, but
never went away. But people didn't think about him that way for the rest of his career because he went on to do great things. Right. You know what I'm saying? So the same could be said for Dubois. He can, you know, he can recover from this. But yeah, he quit, man, flat out. You know, there's no other way to put it, man.
He can definitely recover.
Everybody quits differently. Like I don't want to call out the UK, and a lot of UK dudes are gonna get mad at me, okay? But I got like maybe it's just the way it's happened. But I mean, Dubois took a knee, Edwards took a knee, Joshua took several knees. You know what I mean? Cal Brook took knees. Well, like Luke Campbell. You don't got a God bless the Queen in the middle of a fight. Like you know what I mean? You could just you know tell the ref you don't want no more. That's it. Duran didn't take a knee he didn't bend the knee for Sugar Ray Leonard, you know, and then say no man. Like he just said, whatever, right? He said, yeah, vas a con ese payaso, he said, right? Because he was frustrated. By the way, honestly, like, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say in the Duran fight too, you know, the backstory is obviously that the rematch happened way too quickly. He ballooned way out of shape. He didn't want to take the fight. He felt he was forced into it. And yeah, it was like a moment of frustration. But I agree with GFunky. I mean, guys can resurrect their careers after retiring, you know, during fights or quitting during fights, depending on what word you want to use. before the show, we were talking about Vitaly Klitschko against Chris Bird, and I mentioned the fact that, you know, he was winning a fight against a shorter, smaller guy. He threw out his shoulder, I think he rotator cuff, and he quit on his stool. But what do people remember Vitaly for? They remember him being cut up during the Lewis fight at the Staples Center, arguing with the ref and with the doctor about their decision to end the fight. So, you know, turnarounds can happen. But yeah, like GFunky said, you got to be honest about what happened in the ring. And honestly, what happened in the ring was him losing to a guy that really was not really showing that much high-level boxing skill.
Right.
To me.
Outlaw says, did he quit or did his body give up on him? The same situation happened with Angulo. No one said he quit. Of course, you're talking about the Lara fight. Yeah, Angulo quit. Like, he gave his back.
He did.
Like I don't know who didn't say that, but I will say that he quit. Look, if we're going to let me put it this way, and I get where the don't say that they quit. You know, say that their body gave up on them, or like that's not going to solve like anything. Like lying to people and lying to ourselves about what we're watching, it's not going to solve anything. You know what I mean? JD says, hey, DStyle, do you think they look at the act differently in the UK, taking a knee? I don't think so. I mean, you would have to ask somebody in the UK that. I don't know the answer to that.
I'll ask you guys something.
Sure.
Let's say a guy gets hit with a body shot really hard, right? And, you know, loses his wind and takes a knee. You know, we've seen that so many times. Guys go out from body shots. Is that quitting? I mean,
no.
In one case, you're getting hit to the body really hard, and like Outlaw said, maybe your body gives out. In another case, you know, your eyes,
his body didn't give out.
all kind of pain.
He stepped back. He thought about it. He stepped again, and he took a knee, and then he got up at 9. So he knew what he was doing. So I get your point about the body shot. Look, I've said this before, Amilcar. I've always said that if you take a voluntary, you should only take one voluntary knee a fight. That's it. If you take more than one voluntary knee, it's over. You're submitting already. The fight's over. You know. Now, of course, we have to use our discretion. Un gancho al hígado, okay, can take you to your fucking knees whether you like it or not. You know what I mean? If your wind gets taken out of you, you're gonna go down whether you like it or you don't like it. Like, you know, but then I gotta ask, and I know I've had this conversation with GFunky off the record. Did Hopkins really hurt De La Hoya that bad that he couldn't stand up, or did De La Hoya, you know, say, okay, I think this is where I'm gonna go out? And I think the issue with UK fighters, and I really don't mean this in a bad way at all. Like, I think they're very transparent when they don't want to continue, whereas in other cultures, and this is just a maybe, in other cultures, since it's frowned upon, right? Maybe I'm not in De La Hoya's body, so I don't know, but maybe De La Hoya knew, like, I can't just quit in the middle of the fight. But, you know, once he hit him to the body, he said, okay, you know, this is where I'm going to go down, and people are going to say I got knocked out. They're not going to say I quit, right? And if they accused me of it, I have plausible deniability. I could say, nah, I was hit right in the money, and he took me down. Like, I feel like Dubois was in a bad spot, bro, because Joyce was only hitting that one spot. Like, maybe if he hit him with a body shot, he could have been like, and gone down. Who knows? But I just think, at least from what I've seen, UK fighters seem to be more transparent when they maybe not verbally, but in the ring show that they've had enough. All right. But before I go to my next question, you guys have anything to add to that really quick?
I was just going to say that there's other things people have done, you know, when they're really hurt, biding for time being one of them. You guys obviously remember Corrales Castillo when he spit out his mouthpiece. You know, let's say the referee had stopped that fight after that. Could that have been a sign of quitting? You know, I'm just playing devil's advocate. I mean, it's obvious that he definitely quit. But I also don't want to act like this is something new that's like a new phenomenon or wave in boxing. It's been happening for a long time.
Look, I think first we have to be honest whether a fighter quit or not. Now, granted, to Amilcar's point, there's going to be cases where, like, we don't really know, right? There's like a gray area or whatever. But here's what I'll say. Sometimes you do see patterns in fighters. Like, Victor Ortiz sure as hell found the way out of a lot of fights. You know, that's a pattern to me. Maybe some of those was legitimate. Maybe some of those he just wanted out. But look, it's a brutal sport, right?
Andrew Golota.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. It's a brutal sport. We all need to understand that we're literally watching grown professionals trained, okay, to hurt each other with their fist, hitting each other with their fist, okay? Like they literally have their hands wrapped and gloves on so they don't break their hands hitting each other. Okay, like I need people to understand that we are watching like a brutal sport, and we have to acknowledge that before we proceed, okay? So right now there's like a movement, and I'm kind of in the middle on it. I got to be honest, because on one hand, I grew up a macho, like you know what I mean? Like in a Mexican household, quitting is a no-no. Like, you know, these guys are warriors, go out on your shield and blah, 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 right? That's how I was raised, right? On the other hand, man, we have so much, I've experienced a lot as a boxing fan, right? I've seen fighters die in the ring. You know what I mean? Max Dadashev, for example, like that's a fighter that didn't want to quit. You know what I mean? And he still died, even though Buddy McGirt stopped the fight, you know, trying to save his life, you know, against his fighter's will even, right? We have situations with Wilder's telling Breland, nah, we signed the pact. You shouldn't have stopped it. You're fired, right? I mean, we have these fighters that are willing, at least verbally say they're willing to die in the ring. Like we have that. But we've also experienced these things that, quite frankly, man, they make you pause and they make you think about what we're watching sometimes, you know. But there's a movement now. Andy Lee came out and said, hey, we got to stop calling these fighters quitters, man. Like it's them stepping in the ring alone makes them like non-quitters and stuff like that. And we have to stop, like kind of do the MMA thing. Like the MMA fighters don't get ridiculed when they can't continue and stuff like that. You could tap out in MMA. Like they don't look down on you for doing it, etc. Should tapping out, which is a form of quitting, by the way, and that's my point. In MMA, they acknowledge that you quit and they don't demonize you for it. In boxing, people get demonized. You know, they get talked down to if they quit. So on one hand, I do feel like we need to acknowledge and be real with ourselves when we see somebody quit. But should we be more lenient on fighters? Should boxing fans give fighters a break? Amilcar, what do you think?
You know, boxing fans give people a break when they're fans of the fighter. I mean, I consider Mike Tyson biting Evander Holyfield's ear off to be an act of quitting. You know, he was losing the fight. He didn't see a way to win. Yeah, he was frustrated. And what did he do? He essentially disqualified himself. But you won't really hear people say that because a lot of people are fans of Mike Tyson, and it doesn't really fit with the idea of what and who they think he is. You know, I'm not in the guy's body. You know, I don't know what he's going through. Also, I've never been in a position like that, you know, fighting a guy multiple rounds who's, 6'6", 260, and it's hitting me constantly in a bad eye. So, you know, I'm not here to cast judgment on anybody. But, yes, if the question is, did he decide to end the fight on his own? He did. Should he be criticized for it? I mean, I really think that's something that should be left to boxers. And even then, I don't know. It's tough. But what I will say is that people have been getting out of fights and finding ways to get out of fights. This is why I referenced the Golota thing earlier with the multiple low blows. I mean, that was an act of, you know, finding a way out of a fight, which was weird because he was actually doing pretty well to a certain point. But yeah, it's nothing new.
Well said, Amilcar. GFunky, well, what do you think about the culture, man? There's a lot of, on one hand, you have fans that say, nah, I don't want quitters, never quit. On the other hand, you have fans saying, hey, man, let's not make a big deal about it. Let's kind of do like MMA fans do. They don't give them a hard time about it. Maybe they'll come back next time. But where do you kind of fall on that spectrum?
I mean, I'm an honest guy, so you know, if the guy quit, he quit. You know, like I mean, I don't play with words, man. I'm just that's just not me. Should a fighter? I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's their decision what they want to do. They're the ones that are in there getting hit, you know, by another man. That's their decision to decide. Look, man, I'm gonna take a knee after months of training, months of hard work, and all this other stuff. I'm gonna say, you know what? I've had enough. I'm done. And you know, I don't see it as a bad thing, though, as long as we're honest about it. And
Right.
Dubois says, you know what? Hey, you know, I couldn't take the pain. My bone and around my eye was broken, and hey, I got to come back and come back stronger. You know, work on my head movement, work on parrying the jab, maybe. You know, doing something different, making an adjustment to that jab. You know, I think he can do it, but we'll see, man. But I want to touch on the De La Hoya thing. You know, I have my opinion on that. I do think he quit in that fight. And the reason why I say that is because I feel like that body shot, did it hurt him? Yeah, it probably did. But I honestly feel like De La Hoya was running out of steam in that fight. I felt like he tried to come out really fast on Hopkins. Hopkins kind of figured out what he was doing. And he started to put a lot of pressure on De La Hoya, making De La Hoya move a lot. And, you know, that was the biggest guy De La Hoya had ever been in there with. So I feel like it was a combination of him, you know, saying, "Look, I'm a little bit tired. My legs are getting worn down from moving around from this big guy." And then he hits me in the body with a good shot. You know, I mean, I think that was his way out of the fight, man. Because De La Hoya to me was one of those guys, man. He had a great fucking chin, man. I mean, that dude could take some shots. I mean, he took some hard shots from guys in his career, and that's just the way I feel about him, man. But, you know, there's a lot of situations. Like I seen guys in the chat talk about Mikey Garcia when he got headbutted by Salido. And he was up. He won every round against Salido, knocked him down multiple times.
Right.
And he quit in that fight. So, I mean, you know, we got to just look at things by case basis, you know.
So you're saying it was hot in the kitchen, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
look, I remember Nate Campbell, the headbutts from Bradley, right?
Yeah.
I remember I was on YouTube at the time, man. A lot of us YouTubers were killing him for quitting, and he later came out in an interview and said, "Dude, I was seeing black spots. I couldn't even see." Right now, is it being 100% honest about that? We will never know. We're not in his body, but look, I think fans should just kind of take it for what it is, right? Like every fighter, and I mean this when I say this, and I believe this, every fighter has a certain threshold, right, of pain that they could take in a fight, right? The best example I have for you was third fight, okay, Ali versus, you know,
Frazier.
Manila, okay, against Joe Frazier, right? Ali said, "Take these dang gloves off" after 14 rounds. Muhammad Ali, all right? But they stopped the fight in the other corner, right? The Frazier side stopped the fight. So now Ali never comes out, or this never comes out. We never know. So there's a threshold for everybody. Now it took Ali 14 rounds of devastating punishment and body shots, etc., hooks from Frazier to reach that point, right? And exhaustion. So maybe in a 12-round era, that's not an issue for him. But everyone has a threshold. Now some. And I honestly believe this. Like, I think like Antonio Margarito was willing to die in the ring. Like, you know what I mean? Some don't have a threshold. Some were like, I'll die in the ring. But I think that kind of makes boxing interesting. Like, having that bigger threshold of pain sometimes lets us see less skilled fighters beat more skilled fighters. That's just something that they have over them. So we should all kind of just accept that there's going to be certain thresholds, some lower than others, and just go from there. It doesn't like, and they're going to be in different moments. Amilcar said one. Vitaly Klitschko, my fight is dominating. The shoulder injury, he doesn't want to continue against Chris Bird, right? But against Vitaly, fucking cut up and shit, but he wanted to continue in a fight that was almost 50-50 and Lewis kind of taking over but he wanted to continue in that fight. So it just depends, right? We're going to see different situations with these fighters, but I'm still iffy about it. I got to tell you, man, I don't like seeing guys quit. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, same for me.
And I think what got people too is like there wasn't like a immediate wins or some kind of showing of like a sharp pain or something like that. It was kind of a calculated, knee that he took. And I think that's what, got people, talking like this. But as we all said, people have a different threshold. And, there's things like the eye, the liver, different parts of your body that are very susceptible to, that part of the brain that tells you now is it the time to kind of not continue.
Yeah, there's a lot of people disappointed with Dubois' decision. I was actually listening. I was watching the fight, listening to Mr. Boxing Today. Shout out to him, who's the best heavyweight channel here on YouTube. He was calling the fight, so I listened to him, and I just remember he was like, "Oh, come on, don't do this, And then the fight was over, and I mean, yeah, there was a lot of people disappointed in what
people really like the kid.
Mm-hmm.
They like the way he fought. They like the way he talks, the quiet demeanor, coming out to the old school Will Smith 1990s hip hop. He did a lot of things that brought people on his side. But, like you said, it's kind of one of these cardinal sins, for good or for bad.
And like people now know, hey, if I keep punishing this guy, even if he's beating him on scorecards, I have a shot to win. You know what I mean? So that's going to make Dubois fights interesting moving forward. Okay. So, hey, by the way, I want to give a shout out here to our new sponsor. We have a sponsor now. All right. Loyal Roots Apparel. Okay. You can follow them on Instagram, Loyal Roots. They're also on Twitter, at Loyal Roots. www.loyalroots.com. #Loyal Roots. A lot of great apparel. GFunky himself. I'm sure you guys have seen him, wear the apparel as well. So shout out to them for sure, man. Okay. So,
yeah, make sure you check them out, guys. Good merchandise over there.
We're going to go ahead and segue here to Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones. And after that, we're going to be definitely going over Danny Garcia, Errol Spence. So stay tuned, guys. GFunky, I want to start with you, man. Tyson Jones. First of all, give me a rating. Was it just about what you expected, worse than you expected, or better than you expected?
I think it was just what I expected out of 250-year-old guys. Roy, I really don't know what he was doing in there. I didn't like his game plan of just constantly wrapping up Tyson. It was getting to the point where it was reminding me of Klitschko. It was Klitschko-ish, the way he was holding so much.
I think that's an insult to Klitschko, but
and I feel like that was the wrong game plan for him. I feel like he was the fresher guy who could have used his legs a little bit more than Tyson. But maybe Roy is just to that point where he just can't fight anymore, because he certainly didn't look the same to me at all. At least Tyson, we've seen a little glimpse of the past with Tyson in some of the things that he was doing, like coming in with that active guard and then shooting jabs and hooks off of it and stuff like that. As for Roy, we kind of seen him moving around, switching from orthodox to southpaw, trying to pot shot, but it just did not look good at all. Like it looked like he was trying to hit him with these jabs and then dive out of the way, but then it looked like he was going to fall down. Like it just did not look good to me, man. But again, these guys are old men now. They're in their 50s. So yeah, it was kind of what I expected, man.
Amilcar, was it about what you expected, worse or better?
I had really low expectations, and then those expectations plummeted after I saw the weigh-in and Roy Jones Jr.'s physique. There you go. Look, I understand he's over 50, but you go to any gym, you're going to see guys that are up there in age that are still in really good shape. You go around my neighborhood, you see guys running who are in their 50s and even older, in really good shape. When I saw Roy Jones Jr. in this physical condition, I knew that the fight was going to be worse than I even thought it was going to be. And that's exactly what it ended up being. The unfortunate thing is, we all have friends that don't really watch boxing too closely, but they know you're kind of the boxing guy. And it's fights like these where people start asking me what I think about fights, which is sad to me, to be honest. It's they want to know what I think about Robinson and Jake Paul. They want to know what I think about Roy Jones and Tyson. They want to know what I think about Mayweather, McGregor, and all these other fights that actually matter. It's like they don't even know they exist. But yeah, I mean, I'm not even to say I was entertained. I wasn't honestly entertained. In fact, I thought the entire undercard was trash too. The Badu Jack fight was like a total mismatch. I don't even know how that fight was sanctioned. The Nate Robinson fight was a total mismatch. And there was a fight before that. I don't think I really saw that one. But yeah, top to bottom, I didn't like it. You could miss me with the little entertainment that they did too with YG and Snoop Dogg and the other people. I mean, I can turn on YouTube and watch their music videos if I really am interested in that. The best part of this actually was the production value of the show and kind of the kind of, you know, lights and thing they had set up around the ring. Oh, the last thing I wanted to say is as soon as I saw the undercard and I saw how small the ring was out, again, expectations just even plummeted more than they were after the weigh-in. So, you know, I think anyone who knows a little bit about boxing knows what they saw on Saturday night.
I got to tell you, believe it or not, it surpassed my expectations. I had really low expectations, just like you know. I know one's 55, one's what, 51? So, I mean, these guys are over 100 years old. I mean, combined. I mean, this is amazing, you know. You know, I got to say, you know, I think whatever game plan Roy Jones had literally went out the window once Mike Tyson came out swinging for the fences at the start of the fight. And he actually hit Roy with a pretty good body shot. And that's when Roy started holding him on the inside. I mean, that's why he gassed early, in my opinion. That body shot got to him. Plus, he didn't look in the best of shape. He was let me reword some of what GFunky was saying. So he was neutralizing Mike Tyson on the inside, okay? Forcing him to throw arm punches, right? He was rolling away with the shots, okay? He actually was. People think I'm joking. You really think Mike Tyson hit him flush?
No,
Like
he didn't.
Nah. To the body.
And surprisingly, he was able to kind of stay there with Mike in terms of strength when he needed to, which was a little surprising to me. I would have just assumed that Mike would have kind of muscled him constantly, but it didn't really happen that way.
It didn't really happen. And, you know, he's at that age where he's losing a little bit of muscle. You know what I mean? He's losing a little bit of strength. That man's strength is starting to go away. You know, if not, it's already gone away. So, hey. But I got to tell you, like, regardless of who you think won, I think the fight was a lot closer than people give it credit for, to be honest with you. It's an exhibition, so I'm not taking, like, who won seriously, but they already had to draw a plan. And this is how I know, okay? It just so happened, guys. I mean, by golly gee, guys. You know, Mauricio Suleiman just happened to have 2 belts. You know what I mean? Just
Silver titles.
Yeah, the Black Lives Matter BLM title. Okay, I don't know if he got a sanction if you're not, but man, if he did, he did. This event made a lot of money, so we got 3% of this. So that's a lot of dinero, like, you know what I mean? Because we look for the best of the fighters. We will have 3 judges in the ring to call the fight, right? So that's what Mauricio Suleiman did. Right? A lot of people are already saying it. I said this event will do 500,000. Can I get a ×2 plus another 200,000, please? Okay, because it did 1.2 million. 1.2 million watch Nate Robinson get knocked smooth out in the middle of the ring by a YouTuber, and they watch 2 old men battling arthritis in the ring. Okay, one was high and one was fuming, but it wasn't the smoke. Amilcar, is this fight doing 1.2 million a good sign, a bad sign? What do you make of it? Are you shocked that it did this much?
I think it speaks really to the appeal that Mike Tyson still has. You know, he's been out there on YouTube with his very successful hot boxing podcast. You know, Skip and Shannon were talking about it. Stephen A. and Max Kellerman were talking about it. It got a lot of mainstream attention. And they actually also dropped the price a little bit to make it more reasonable than your other pay-per-view. So it wasn't, you know, the $89.99 to watch it in HD price tag. It was a lot cheaper than that. Let me flip the GFunky your question to our guest though earlier today. How do you think this fight changes if it was actually 3 rounds versus 2 rounds?
2 minutes, 3 minutes. You mean?
Yeah, 3 minutes. Yeah, instead of 2 minutes. Sorry, minutes.
Yeah, that's, man, I think it changed dramatically. One extra minute, especially for guys way out of their prime, and you know, it changes big time, man. You know, to say, I don't know who it would benefit, but I think it would definitely have an impact on the fight for sure.
Yeah, they're having a really heated discussion about who won the fight. You know what I mean? But I thought the fight was close. I don't think the draw is that out of the question, honestly. I think Roy was pot shotting him at times. I think the jabs to the body went missing by some people. He was rolling away from the shots. Most of those body shots were arm punches. I mean, you know, he neutralized them. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. Okay, but I do agree that I don't think Roy makes it to the end if it's 3 minutes, though. I don't.
Maybe. I switched my pick last minute to Roy because I was a big Roy fan growing up. You know, Roy was just a super fighter, man, back in the 90s, and I didn't want to betray him, man. I felt bad when fight day came, you know, and I said, no, I'm switching my pick to Roy. But I did score the fight, and I did have Tyson winning. I had it 6 rounds to 2 for Tyson, but I do think that the draw was planned out for sure.
That was a bit much. It was a bit much, I think.
Well, I'm reading in the Sun that Lennox Lewis wants boxing comeback age 55 as he has unfinished business with Riddick Bowe. So maybe we can look forward to that one.
I'm not gonna lie. Well, here's the thing, though. Like,
I think he's got more unfinished business.
Have you heard Riddick Bowe talk? Have you heard him talk?
Oh yeah, he's
Riddick
really bad
Bowe?
these days.
Yeah.
He's kind of punch drunk, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so maybe they mess around a little bit, but I don't know. I'd be worried about Riddick Bowe if he would have sparred Lennox Lewis.
Bo's really bad. His speech is really bad now. But if Lennox is talking about some unfinished business, then he need to talk to Vitaly Klitschko. That's unfinished business. He walked away from that rematch, and you know, I think he walked away for good reason, man.
Hey, you know what? Like, he didn't have to fight Vitaly. He could have retired, but he did fight him.
Yeah, it was a short notice fight too. He was supposed to fight Kurt Johnson, but something happened with Kurt Johnson. I think it was an injury, and Vitaly stepped in at the last minute.
It backfired because here's the thing. We talked about it earlier. He had that label as a quitter, and they picked him for that reason. They picked him because they thought if it got hot in there, he was just going to give up, and that's not the case. He suffered a terrible cut from Lennox in that fight, and he continued fighting. He continued to bust up Lennox. You know, so again, that's another example of what Dubois could do with his career. He could come back and you know, make a name for himself. I mean, Klitschko literally wiped that out of his legacy with just that one fight, and then becoming the heavyweight champion. So
absolutely,
yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what though. You know, we got our little nostalgia out of it. I just don't think it's gonna sustain. Like, I don't think people are gonna fork out $50 again for an event like this. I think this was like a one-off. I really do. So we will see now. I mean, the sad thing is, it's gonna sell. It sold more than what I think this next fight we're gonna talk about sold. So it's gonna sell. That is.
I want to say this before we move on, man. Can I say something before we move on? I just want to say this, man. I know some people might disagree with me on this, but to have these two guys come back in their 50s, way out of their prime, give us a fight where there was supposed to be no winner, you know, then they changed the rules the week of the fight and all that type of stuff. But to have these two guys come back and do over 1 million pay-per-view buys, that just shows you what these promoters in boxing, you know, what they're all about, man. You guys ought to be ashamed of yourselves, man, that you can't get these fighters, these current fighters, to do these kind of numbers, man, on pay-per-view. It's ridiculous. You guys really need to just get your shit together, man, because there are some good fighters out there that I think can do it, man.
Numbers,
Yeah, this is crazy, man. And I mean, look, they just
Now,
look at
$25 less, but still, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's another thing. Let's stop with the $70 or the $80 in
I
HD.
agree.
Take it back down to 50. You see, people are more willing to put out their money if it's $50, man. Like, stop being greedy.
Yo.
All right, let's end this shit.
I just
you make
paid
more in the
my
long run if you have more
bro.
sales.
I just paid my bill, okay? And it had the Charlotte pay-per-view and the Tank pay-per-view on there, man. Okay?
Mine too.
Okay? Like $160 just for those two events. It's a lot of money, dude. You know? You know, plus with what I already pay with my internet and and stuff like that. Yeah, that's a good amount of money, but hey, it is what it is, you know. Bring it down, $50. Just bring down the price. You're gonna get more people to buy it. It's gonna pump people up with more buys, but I just don't think like the more upsetting part is that Espinosa came out and said, "Oh, they're gonna be fairly priced. Just watch," and they were priced $75, and that was fairly priced. So what were they planning to do? Sell it for without the pandemic? 100? Like what? They are you out of your minds? Like So that's that, man. Hey, yo. Danny Garcia, Errol, Spence. Before we talk about the fights, I want a projection from you guys for the pay-per-view numbers. How many pay-per-view buys does it do, Amilcar?
I'd say in the neighborhood of 250 to 300,000.
All right, I want to ask the chat as well. You guys, give me your number, and whoever is closest to that number, I will forward $5 Cash App next week on HCP. So give me your number, all the way. Like I want a 2 point. Whoever calls it first, of course, but whatever it is, give me your number closest to it, or you'll win some money, easy money.
So
right?
let me just split it in the middle then and say 275.
Okay, all right. GFunky, where do you got it?
I'm going to agree with Amilcar. Somewhere in the 200,000s, I think. I don't think this fight does as good as Spence's last pay-per-view.
Wow.
It's just not a pay-per-view fight. I mean, if I'm honest about it, and I always am honest about shit.
Jones a pay-per-view fight?
Nope.
No, but it was Tyson and Jones.
Yeah,
Errol Spence has never been on the level of either of these guys. Not even close.
Yeah, and the sad thing is I'm gonna buy it. Just like I bought the Charlo pay-per-view, I bought the Tank pay-per-view, I bought the Tyson Jones pay-per-view, and I'm gonna buy Spence Garcia. So but I'm honest about it. At least I know. Like I'm a hardcore fan. I need to watch the fight. But is it really a pay-per-view fight? Absolutely not. It is not. But
this is something that would have been on HBO Championship Boxing. 15, 20 years ago.
Yep.
Or Showtime Championship Boxing.
I agree.
Well, look, I mean, I'll be honest. I like the fight. I don't know if it's pay-per-view. I've never really got in the discussions of is it pay-per-view worth. Like I just feel like that's a whole nother conversation. But this pay-per-view could be a fight that's gonna be an extravaganza. Pay-per-view could be a fight that networks don't want. Pay-per-view could be a fight that maybe one of the fighters just has too much money that they can make. You know what I mean? And so they gotta kind of, even if it's just break even, gotta put it on pay-per-view. It just depends. A shout out to Chicano Prophet, but I'll go to friends to watch the show. He says, "ING, we are boxing addicts." And just to go over the numbers really quick. Look at this. No Paul says 400,000. Run PMC 369,000. Sonteo Media 425,000. Chicano Prophet 225,000. A salute to Adrian A. By the way, give me your estimation, guys. Jay Lee 350. Whoever's closest, hey, easy money. You know what I mean? $5. It's just to predict, like, just to give me a number. Like, just get it right. You know what I mean? If you're not, are you Nostradamus? If you are, then you'll win money. But it's going to shock you guys. 380,000.
Wow.
380,000. I think a lot of people are pumped up. Like, you know what I mean? As far as the Tyson Jones thing, I have a lot of, and this is anecdotal, but a lot of people asking me about boxing. What's up now with boxing? And, You know, because I don't know, for whatever reason, it ignited some attention from people. I think some young fans are tuning into it because of Jake Paul. I'm not seeing a whole lot of them, but even if it's another 10,000 kids, and it is what it is. I think Garcia Spence is 380,000 buys is what I think it does. It's also in December. I mean, towards the end of the year, it has like that, hey, one more big event feel, like pay-per-view wise. And I think that's why it'll do these numbers. I'm not saying it deserves these numbers. I'm not making that argument. But I think it does 380,000. That's what I think. Am I crazy?
I don't think you're crazy. I just think that a lot of the numbers that Spence did in the last fight were really his last. Actually, I'd say the last couple fights, but especially the Garcia fight, were driven by his opponent.
You think the Porter fight? You think those were Porter's?
Well, what did the Porter fight do?
I did 300. I think it did like
so 300s. So that's what I'm thinking. Like my first thing I said was like around 250 to 300. I think it does that. I don't really think it does much more. Maybe Danny Garcia brings a little bit more than Sean Porter. I don't really know.
I think he does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he does. I think, and like you said, the Latino fan base, a lot of Latino, they're going to see Garcia.
What was Thurman and Garcia?
That wasn't on pay-per-view, though.
That was
it
on
wasn't.
Fox.
That's what I'm thinking. That's exactly my point. That's what I'm thinking.
Or CBS, whatever it was.
Yeah. So, I mean.
But that's exposure, right? That's more people that's seen him fight. You know what I mean? Like network TV. And not only that, Amilcar, they're playing commercials of it during Monday Night Football. Like, you know, Fox Sports is really pushing it a lot. Like that, it's, you know, like I'm seeing it anyway. Is this Fox Sports running it, or is it Showtime?
No, I think actually it's a good question.
It's Fox Sports, right?
Oh, well, that might actually help it. And you know what might help it too
is helping boxing at all, to be honest with you. But I just think that's going to help it. I think that's what helped the Porter fight. 380,000. That's what I'm going with.
I think the car collision too might drive some interest as well. I think people are a little bit intrigued and just seeing, you know, how he's going to recover from that.
The car accident. People love a comeback story, bro. You know what I mean? That's like a movie, bro. Like, imagine that's a movie. Like, you crash, you know what I mean? And you survive, and you come back from rehab, and rehabbing your injuries, that is, right? And then like you go to training camp, and like you're struggling, and they're gonna face this kid out of Philadelphia. You know what I mean? It's like the reverse Rocky movie. All right. Like, but anyway, we will see. I mean, maybe I'm being overly optimistic here, but I do think it's gonna do a pretty good numbers, honestly. And we'll see. You know, we'll see where it goes. Amilcar, you're 100% sure on your predictions, as Run PMC.
I just responded. I said not this week. I honestly don't know what's going to happen in this fight. I mean, that surgically reconstructed face. I mean, it's Danny Garcia. He could smack, man. If he hits him with one of his hooks, you don't know what's going to happen. So, I mean, he's a very, you know, I've said it many times. It's like fighters that fight within themselves and within their skill set are always dangerous, and he doesn't overextend himself, Garcia, and what he does very, very well.
You're not lying. Yeah, absolutely. You know, which brings me to this. Let's talk about the fight. Who is gonna win this fight? Let's start with you, GFunky.
Well, I did do a breakdown prediction on my channel. If you guys want to go back and to my channel and check that out, you're more than welcome to. I'll give a little brief summary here of what I think is going to happen here. I'm going to take Spence by unanimous decision. Now, I said this in the video as well, and I'm going to say this here, that I'm looking at this fight as if that car crash never happened, because I don't want people to use that shit as an excuse if Danny Garcia wins this fight. Spence says that he's good. You know, he's not taking a tune-up. He's going to get back in there. He looks in tremendous shape, you know, so I have no choice but to believe Spence if he says he's good and he doesn't need a tune-up. So I'm just putting that out there right now. But I do think that Danny Garcia, I don't know if he can kind of do some of the things that have given Spence trouble in the past with some of his best fights, like with Brooke. Brooke was able to pot shot from the outside, use some movement against him that gave him a little bit of trouble early. That's not Danny Garcia. Porter's a guy who was able to push Spence back with his strength and his aggressive style. And that kind of kept Spence off balance for a good portion of that fight. I don't see Garcia doing that either. He is what people say, and that he is flat-footed, but I don't see that necessarily as a bad thing for him. What he does very well. He likes to stay there, keep his feet planted, be well balanced. To me, that is good footwork, to have good balance, good steady legs under you. This way he can fire off those mid-range counter punches, because he is a counter puncher, Spence, the thing with Spence is his jab. I love his jab. I think it's one of the best jabs in boxing. Although sometimes he can leave himself open. Sometimes he'll jab from a little too far out and lean in. That's when he gets into trouble a little bit. He is very hittable as well. And that's because he is aggressive, He likes to commit to his punches. He's shown a tremendous chin, and so has Garcia. And Garcia, I think he's going to have some opportunities to land some shots on Spence, and he's got that no-look hook that we've all talked about. And I don't know if that's, a planned thing or if that's just the way that he does it or what, but either way it works for him, And but my thing with Garcia is this: all his big wins have come at 140. Doesn't really necessarily have a big win against a good opponent at 147. Now, he's had some close fights with Porter and Thurman. Those are debatable fights, but at the end of the day, he didn't get the job done. Not the way like he did against Khan when he was an underdog at 140, knocked him out. Not the way that he did Matisse when he was an underdog on that one, where we dropped him, busted up his eye pretty good. He was able to take some good shots from Matisse too, so he's got a tremendous chin. But I don't think he can do the things that a lot of these guys who have given Spence trouble in the past. So I'm going to take Spence. I think the jab is going to be there all night, and I really like his combination punching, man. He throws a lot of good combinations to the head and the body. So I'm going to take Spence in a good fight, man. But the thing with Danny is he always surprises you, man. He finds a way to surprise you in the ring when you count him out. I did not pick him against Khan or Matisse, and the fucking guy pulled it out somehow, some way. So it wouldn't surprise me if he's able to do some things here, man. But I'm going to roll with Spence in this one, man.
Absolutely. Well said. Hey, shout out to Black and Brown. Of course, Jay Lee's still here. Bruce Goes, Taco Bernstein out here from HCP, Canelo Cartel, right? Wild Card Show podcast down as counterpunching is going to have to be on point on Saturday. Amilcar, who's going to win this fight, man?
I'm picking Errol Spence Jr. and two real reasons. The first is that he demonstrated in the Garcia fight that he's willing to box and box cautiously and box patiently and in a manner that's not necessarily the most fan appealing or crowd pleasing to get the win. And on the other hand, I've actually seen Garcia get outboxed by El Profe in Puerto Rico when he went and he fought Mauricio Herrera. He got outboxed. I also felt he got outboxed, to be honest, against Lamont Peterson. He got outboxed against Errol Spence not Errol Spence, Keith Thurman. And I think that Errol Spence is a better boxer than all of these guys. The reason I think it's going to be a competitive fight is because they're both comfortable being counterpunchers. As GFunky was alluding to, Danny Garcia is a very effective counterpuncher. It's going to be close because there are going to be spells in this fight where, there are going to kind of be a lot of lulls in the action, and kind of rounds that people are going to say, oh, well, they could have gone either way. But the rounds that I see being decisive are rounds that I think Errol Spence is going to win. And like I said, he's got the size, he's got the reach, he's got the boxing ability. He's willing to fight cautious, and that was before the accident. So if anything, I think the facial reconstruction and everything is going to make him fight even more cautiously. The shot I give Garcia is obviously if he can do some damage to that, and if that face hasn't fully recovered. And that's kind of where I give Garcia some shot. I mean, if there was no car collision, I wouldn't really be giving him much of a shot at all. But I'm still picking Spence, and I think he's going to box like very cautiously and win by unanimous decision.
Okay. You know, the toughest part about this fight, whether people want to acknowledge it or not, you know, but it's the car crash.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like, you need to understand that Errol Spence doesn't remember the night. He doesn't remember like a whole week of being in the hospital, lost a bunch of teeth, had lacerations all over the face. Who knows what else was broken there? He was out. Okay. Like, let me just put it to you guys this way. Like, if somebody was in a boxing fight and he got knocked out so cold that he was out in the hospital for a week after that fight, will we be saying, oh, he's totally fine, he'll be all right? Like, with confidence? No. Okay, this is equivalent to taking a beating in a ring and getting knocked out and being in a coma or whatnot for like a week. That's basically what happened to Spence in his crash. Right? I don't even know if he could bite down on the mouthpiece for 12 rounds. I know that sounds like an exaggeration, but does anybody know? Maybe he knows in his camp now or whatnot, but I just don't know. I mean, Amilcar, there's a possibility he tries to get an early knockout here.
I mean, there's times even now, and I've been boxed in like well over 10 years where like I feel a little like tightness in my jaw or kind of like locks up for a second or two, you know? And I was never in like a car accident like this. And think about the Wilder Fury rematch and how much concern there was over a cut, right? That was a cut. Yes. And people were concerned about what that might play in the fight. And right. Like you said, DStyle, this is far worse than that. So again, that's why I do give Garcia a shot here. But my analysis, like GFunky's, strictly off of what might take place or would take place if we took the accident out of the equation.
Yeah, man. By the way, some of you asked about a coupon code for Loyal Roots. I mean, we'll work on that, right? But we'll get to that. And how about time? I mean, I know, see, it's worse than that. I mean, you get my point. You know, like, you know what I mean? Like, you get my point of the gravity. I'm trying to paint a picture for people of the gravity of the situation. Picture a fight where a dude got beat up, knocked out, and he was in the hospital for a week and didn't remember that whole week, right? I mean, just once you put it that way, people stop and say, damn, that does sound bad. We would be talking a lot differently about this fight because I completely agree. Yes, going through a windshield and all that is horrible. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't got to be a contrarian here. You know what I mean? Like, you get my point, right? No Pablo Boxiano. So who got Haplo? Who you got Haplo? I think he's saying he has Garcia. If he's saying that if Garcia can't win this, he sucks. So there you go. Brusco says Snoop Dogg said Nate will be all right. He just needs to walk it off. Wow. All right, JD, it's not psychology. The same though. After man did not do this to him in front of his fans, and of course, it's not. I'm talking about like psychologically, no, right? It's not the same thing. I get all that, guys, right? But you know, does the point stand? Like you know what I mean? The point stands. Like if you took a beating, you were out for a week. We'd be taking this very seriously, even with a non-psychological issue out of it. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I have no clue. Look, Garcia's hook is dangerous, period.
Yeah.
Right? But with the added issue with the teeth, the jaw, I don't know how he's going to take that punch. Nobody knows.
Right? I mean, Garcia's won the lottery here, man. You couldn't have asked for a better fight if you were him.
Yeah. Now, what do you make of this, Amilcar? Keith Thurman said, I mean, I don't know what to make of this, honestly, but I just wanted thoughts on this.
Did he
Keith
play the
Thurman
flute
said
first?
he said that Danny was rubbing his hands together and licking his chops while he watched the fight with Porter. What do you make of that? You think he saw something or
The fight with
Spence Porter? Yeah.
yeah, I think maybe what he saw was a guy who was kind of a little bit shorter in stature, able to get inside, and maybe he thought if he could get inside like that and land the way Porter was landing, that he'd land with more authority. I don't know. I mean, Danny Garcia definitely throws cleaner, crisper shots than Sean Porter. I've always felt that Sean Porter kind of muffles and smothers a lot of his attack with, you know, the way he's overly rough in the ring and kind of charges forward a lot. Unless obviously he's fighting a kid like that German guy he fought last time. That was obviously different. But so maybe he said, look, if Porter can get in on the inside and get him against the ropes, imagine what I could do. The only thing with that, though, and I'm thinking about it, is that he's naturally a counter puncher. So I don't know. That's an interesting comment. I'd have to think about that a little bit.
Sorry, man. But I don't see why he would be licking his chops and rubbing his hands together. You know, like
everybody said that meme, by the way, of that dude.
That dude. I don't know why he would even think that. Danny Garcia and Sean Porter, they don't fight anything the same.
Yeah.
You know, and I made a point to say that in my prediction video that, you know, Spence, the problem that I have with Spence with his defense is that, you know, he's very lineal. You know, like he'll come in straight and then he'll back out straight for a majority of the time. Did he pivot every now and then with Sean Porter? Yeah, but for the majority of the time, it was Sean Porter was the one that was spinning around and doing those things. That's just what he does, you know. Garcia is not going to do that unless he just decides to plan to do a whole new game plan, do something out of the normal. But I don't see why he would think that, you know. I just don't. I don't know. I don't know what he's seeing.
Absolutely. Hey, really quick, Amilcar, I know you got to run. Just give us some final thoughts, bro.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to a fight. You know, I'm gonna have to eat obviously probably $80 or more when it's all said and done. I hope it's worth it. You know, I hope it's worth it. And yeah, thank you for having me on, guys. It was great.
Most definitely, man. Peace out, bro.
No problem, man. Thanks, Amilcar.
Amilcar, you can catch him on the Leave It in the Ring network. All right. GFunky, and this has been another great HCP 38. Who's down with HCP, GFunky?
You know me, man.
That's right. And I want to ask the chat. The answer is everybody, by the way. But who's down with HCP? All right? Like, who's down with HCP? The answer is everybody. All right?
We got to do the Hulk Hogan thing, man.
That's right. Or all the homies, okay? But, you know, to take your pick. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, you know what I mean? No Paul said everyone. Oh, come on, No Paul. Everyone, like no, like everybody, you know, like it's all good.
That's hilarious.
But check it out, man. Great show. I should have one more topic here. Clarissa Shields signs with PFL. That's a professional fighting league. It's a seasonal league. It is an MMA league. Okay. And all that stuff. Shout out to Jay Lee. I appreciate it, and Chicano Profit, man. Okay, but biggest boxing star now. It is seasonal, so I'm assuming during the season she'll fight MMA, and then after that she'll fight boxing. But what is this? What's your reaction to this, GFunky?
I'm looking at it the same way that I look at these MMA guys that want to fight boxers. That's what I think, man. I think it's you know, women's boxing again. It's struggling to gain some momentum. She's you know, she's constantly on Twitter. I see her all the time. Follow her on Twitter. She's always talking about, you know, I have no fights, I have all the belts and all this type of stuff. You know, and look, I agree with her issues with promoting and things like that in women's boxing. So That's the way I'm looking at it, man. I think she's going to MMA because it's a bigger market for women, and I wish her nothing but the best, man. I'm not an MMA guy, but it's, to me, when you do the crossover thing, it's difficult. The MMA guys, we've seen it. They come over to boxing, they get beat up. Like it's not competitive. I think it's the same. The same it could be said for sometimes when the guys. I mean, James Toney's one guy that comes to mind, but then we also had guys like an old Ray Mercer knocked out at Tim Silva. But I think honestly, I think a lot of that had to do with Tim Silva just being very cocky and arrogant going in that fight, fighting an old
I don't want
guy.
to interrupt you, but like Jeremy Williams, former top 10 heavyweight contender, did go 5-0 in MMA, but not only was he a professional boxer, and by the way, he was in a Contender Series as well, but like as a coach or whatever. But he was also a judoka. You know what I mean? Like he had a black belt in judo. You know what I mean? Like I think that matters. You know what I mean? But go ahead, GFunky.
Yeah, I think with Tim Sylvia, I think he really underestimated Ray Mercer. Tried to throw hands with him, and that's just not what you want to do with a boxer. If he was smart, he would have took him straight to the ground the way that Randy Couture did with James Toney. It's a different world for a boxer when they get taken down to the ground like that. So, for Shields, I mean, I wish her nothing but the best, man. And that's really all I could say about it,
Now, Haplotest says women's boxing suffers only from lack of participation. There just aren't enough women boxers to make it interesting besides 1 or 2 fights a year max. And look, while it is true that women's MMA, boxing has far less participants than male boxing. That's 100% true. And I'm not missing that at all, but there's not that many MMA. Like in the USC, there's only like 20 or 30 women in each division. So it's not like a big pool of talent either, but it's how they promote it. They put it in the forefront. They have a main event. They have them in the same cards as men. Like, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. So it's just worth saying. Something else, I think the business ploy and market are better. I think she'll never fight an MMA fight. Maybe it's just a marketing ploy, something says. Chicano Project Clarissa also says she could beat men in boxing. That could be an interesting event. I don't know. Bruce goes, you guys remember Troy Dorsey? Yes, I do, man. His fights with Mero Pies. That's just really exciting as fuck, bro. Okay, those were some good-ass fights. All right? But yes, I do remember Troy Dorsey. He pulled off some big upsets, but then he got beat up a lot too, though. But he was a kickboxer turned boxer. Haplotype, however, at the very beginning, women's boxing was perhaps more popular. Yeah, absolutely. Shields going to MMA, says Andres. Well, according to sources, yes, she signed with the PFL. PFL is not active right now because of COVID. It is seasonal. Okay, so there's only a certain time of year that she would participate in. She's still planning to stay in boxing and still compete in boxing. But I could imagine either it's what Sonteo says, or maybe even if she does participate in it, just to get her profile out there. A reminder to you guys, make sure you jab the like button. All right. I appreciate that very much. Nopal says, well, Andres, I'm not sure till we see, says Nopal. Andres says, the grappling and ground game is nothing to play with. I do agree with that. Rump PMC says different, going from specific, broad to specific. I gotcha. All right. So there you go. I mean, this is arguably the biggest star in women's boxing. The only women fighter that signed was Showtime. I don't really blame her, GFunky. They didn't get her an event. Okay. We have to deal with Danny Jacobs versus Rosado, but we can't get Shields like on TV anywhere on an app, something. I think that's ridiculous, in my opinion. Showtime should have found a way to get Clarissa Shields on one of those, of all those cards they had, right? Even if you loan her to Fox, like, come on, we saw Lara against Ramon, bro. No, that was last year, but who did he fight? What was it Lara fought? What's that dude's name? I forgot.
Vendetta, something like that.
Oh, V for Vendetta, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, V for Vendetta. Like, why do we have to see that? Let's put Shields and, Olympic gold medalist. Get her on TV, man. You know what I mean? So I don't blame her. Plus, she looks at her like, look, hey, Holly Holm did it, right? You know, she transitioned. She beat Ronda Rousey, big upset. She's still like a top 5, top 10 fighter in her division today, even on her late 30s. So she's doing her thing over there. Maybe she figures, hey, I'm a better athlete than Holly Holm. And I mean, if she could do it, maybe I could do it. Now, it's not that simple. Holly Holm was in an MMA gym, trained MMA for a long time. She also had a kickboxing background before she transitioned to MMA, right? So a little different there, but maybe that's just, you know, she sees that as a possibility. And we might see this a little bit, man. We might see more women do both. Like the way things are looking. It's got to be honest, okay? Anayatuka says way more names in MMA than in women's boxing, you know. And again, UFC, got to give them credit. They do a great job promoting these women, getting them out there. And I got to tell you, GFunky, at first, Dana White, he was like us. He was saying, I don't know. I don't want to see women fight. I don't like to see women get hurt. I don't want to see all that. You know what I mean? He was totally against it. But once he saw Strikeforce have the success around the Rousey, you know, hey, those dollar signs in his eyes, he got it running, and now he has, I think, 3 or 4 women divisions all running, and you know, so hey, he's made it work. So why not us? Of course, there's a pandemic, but my God, how could he not get a fight for Clarissa Shields at this point? You know,
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, man, if she gets sick and down and mauled, that's going to be, I mean, my God, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's gonna be sad, man. Like, you know, like I don't know if we want to see that. So I will say one more thing. Women's MMA, just like women's boxing, women's MMA is not that advanced, right? Like it just isn't. So, you know, the transition is easier than the men's. I'm just saying. Okay. People can say what they want. Okay. And on both sides, by the way. Like I think Cyborg can go to boxing and win a world title. You know what I mean? Because the women's divisions just aren't that deep. So, like, I think that's possible. That's my opinion, but I just don't think the women's division, especially the boxing, is not that deep. So, and especially not like Ramadan, we had her on earlier. Her division has like 130 women, but some divisions they just got like 26 women in it.
Yeah, it's just not enough, man.
Yeah, they don't even have titles. Like some titles are vacant, like crazy, you know. Haplotide says, dude, you don't think women's MMA has an advantage? Women's MMA is better than men. I don't want to watch 2 guys run around. Well, that's preference, bro. That the men are more skilled in MMA, bro. Come on, like, you know what I mean? Than the women fighters. It's just the truth. Okay. But hey, you know. But hey. They're just 2 guys rolling around. Remember Bob Arum said that shit?
Yeah.
They're rolling around like homosexuals. You know, and I got to tell you, like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't think she has to do it. And she might not do it, you know? I just don't think she has to. She's one of the few women that have gotten, you know, good 6-figure paydays, you know? But hey, who knows what they offered though, you know? So I can't even say. According to Joe Rogan, that's a beautiful thing, Haplo. I don't know, man. You guys are killing me, man. You guys are killing me. Right? Scott Profit, I'm with you, Apple Type. And women's MMA is sexier than women's boxing, says Chicano Prophet. No comment. Okay? I'm trying to keep it professional over here, GFunky. You know, these guys aren't letting me. You know what I mean? But yeah, Bruce goes, that's right. But in all seriousness, let's have respect. These are athletes, guys. Come on, they're athletes. You know what I mean? So let's have a little respect here, all right? But with that said, this has been a great show, GFunky. HCP 38. Make sure you guys, again, make sure you hit the like button. If you're listening on archive, hit the like button. All right? GFunky, any final thoughts?
Yeah, this has been a great one, man. HCP 38, man, like the Smith and Wesson, you know. I want to thank everybody for coming here, and make sure that you guys come to Uncensored tomorrow, man. got a big show. You don't want to miss it. It'll be myself, DStyle, and we will have a special guest, Raw Boxing TV. And we're going to talk about some things, man. You know how we do it Uncensored, man. We talk about all of the hot topics, and we don't run from nothing, man. We talk about everything. So make sure that you guys are there, man, for that one. It's going to be flames, I'm telling you, man. So thanks for you guys for being here, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow, man.
The link is in the chat. Make sure you subscribe to GFunky. That way you can catch the show, okay, tomorrow. That's HCP Uncensored. HCP, you know me. This is DStyle Boxing. And what do we say, GFunky?
Keep it boxing.
Keep it boxing. We're out.